Hello, my name's Val Sutter, and I welcome you to Carefree Bywayz. This is an introduction to my YouTube website, which is Carefree, one word, Bywayz with a Z, and this comes to you from on June 5th, and I'm driving along Interstate 80 heading east. And I wanted to use this opportunity. The highway stretches for hundreds of miles in this way, and I wanted to use this moment to share with you why I do Carefree Bywayz and why I produce these videos along with my wife Lisa, who is currently shooting the videos. Say hi, Lisa.
Hi there.
She's there, and she gives me prompts when I miss things. So anyway, my first great road trip, cross-country road trip, was in 1963. I was 13 years old, and my father had retired from the U.S. Navy. So we drove from our home in Sunnyvale, California, which is just south. I have to watch my driving. It's just south of San Francisco, and we drove all the way across country, stopping off in Harville, Illinois, which was my father's hometown, and we stayed about a week there in Harville. Spent 4th of July there, and then we got in our car, and we went cross country in what we called the Blue Goose. It was a 1963 Mercury station wagon, big old monster of a car. My dad had made handmade a car top for all of our luggage, and so I went along. Mom was there, and my older brother, and my younger sister, and the five of us drove all the way across country, like I said, to Harville, and then from Harville we drove all the way over to New Jersey, where we caught a space available flight to Europe, and spent a month in Europe and flew back, and then drove all the way back across country. And I still remember how much I enjoyed that trip. And I've driven a number of trips across the United States since then. But what I particularly enjoy is what you're hearing right now, and that is the rumble of the highway. Just feeling it, the road slip underneath me, enjoying the whole environment. Today is a beautiful day here. We're out in the middle of Nevada. Off to the east there are the Ruby Mountains. And I enjoy, sometimes I'm driving along and I'll turn the music off, turn audiobooks off, and I'll just sometimes just listen to the highway sounds like this. And there's just something deeply satisfying. I remember a while back I was just leaving on a road trip and just getting out there in the adventure of the highway and how much I enjoyed being on the road. And so the purpose of these videos, and before I forget, our home is in Elk Grove, California, which is just south of Sacramento. I've driven all the way across the country 4 times. The first time, as I'd mentioned, with my family, which would make 5. And then in 2009, I was activated by the U.S. Army and in Washington, D.C., and so I drove my blue SL2 Saturn all the way across the country, so I'd have a car there, and then drove back home. And then I retired from the Army in 2012. For the next 4 years, I made various trips. I did one trip where I drove across country from Elk Grove all the way to Boston, northern tier, and Lisa and her sister and her husband flew in, and we toured Boston. They flew back, and then I drove back. But that was followed by a trip, what I call Disney to Disney. I went down to Anaheim, went to Disney Anaheim, and visited the park there, and then I drove all the way across country to Disney Orlando and stayed there, and then also drove down to the very tip of the Florida Keys in the lowest point in the 48 states. And so that was a cross-country adventure. And then, what was it? Oh, I drove all the way across country just a couple of years ago when I once again drove from home all the way to Boston. But I carried, it was in this car, and I carried our 2 bikes. They're right there behind me, and drove to Boston. Lisa flew into Boston, and then we drove all around New England. She flew home from Buffalo after visiting the Niagara Falls, and then my son flew in, and he and I drove the rest of the way. In another trip, one that even on this trip we're doing again, and that is Lisa and I drove from Elk Grove up to Calgary, and then visited Banff and Lake Louise, and then my son flew in, and then he and I drove from Calgary all the way up to Skagway, and then took the Alaska Marine Highway down to Juneau, and then Juneau down to Port Rupert, and then Rupert down. From Rupert, we drove inland and drove the rest of the way down. So I've been driving all over the country, enjoying myself a lot. And so the purpose of these videos is to share with you. I'm at heart a teacher. I just actually retired. I was an adjunct professor at Consumnes River College, and now I've completely retired from college teaching. And one of the things projects that I'm working in my retirement is preparing more of these videos on Carefree Bywayz. We're good? On Carefree Bywayz. For your enjoyment. And again, I'm a teacher at heart, so my goal is to share with you my love of the highway, share with you some of the adventures and things that I've seen. So I hope you enjoy these videos. If you do, like and subscribe. And again, that's Carefree Bywayz, Carefree space Bywayz, Bywayz with a Z. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy.